while he brings that up, so I'm a brand new transplant to Sacramento. So we've been here 6 weeks in 7 homes now. My daughter and I's apartment consists of, the entire furniture is a king-size bed in a bedroom. To the point where I work at night, the only place that there's carpet is the actual bedroom. So I'm in the closet while she's sleeping there. We're 2 weeks away from actually getting a home. So we are actually brand new. We came here from Silicon Valley and was recruited as part of the Sacramento 3.0, the Innovation Council, and the Innovation Grant. So my entire team was super excited about coming here. We reload 9 people. And we've added 5 interns, we've added 2 full-time, and next, fingers crossed, on Tuesday, we're about to close a $5 million Series A round. Thank you. And with that, we'll be hiring another 8 full-time, as well as another 5 or 6 interns, so across technical and business. So I'll pitch that out there in case you guys are looking for some a place to settle down if your idea doesn't go here. We're actually located at the Cannery on Alhambra and Stockton. So that's where we are, and we actually are building out our own place, which also includes 4 nap rooms. Because naps are required at my company. So they asked me to come in here and kind of give my background. If you kind of look at me, I'm, as I say, the most unidealistic entrepreneur out there. I'm a woman over the age of 30. I'm a single mom. I don't have a tech undergrad degree. So I'm everything that an entrepreneur should not be if anybody actually watches Silicon Valley on HBO. Right? So they said, can you come in and kind of tell your journey about how you got here, why you're here, and what you're doing? And I said, sure. So I'll kind of go through that. If you guys have questions, stop me. I'll kind of give you my story, and then most importantly, hopefully throw in some things of lessons I've learned along the way, because it's been a long, long, hard road. And unlike Julian here, I am not a serial entrepreneur. I am what they call one and done. This is it. My next job is a beach and a martini or some hard alcohol and a lot of sleep. That's my next job. I'm not doing this again. So, I guess we'll start with my background. So I'm a youngest of 3 kids raised by a single mom. My parents divorced when I was 5, and my father took the money and my mom took the kids. So with them, it felt like as a kid growing up that the only thing that ever mattered to them was money. To the point where, do I pay child support or do I call Child Protective Services? Do I pay child support or do I put my kid into foster care so I don't have to pay child support? I, as a kid, felt like the only thing they ever cared about was the money, and it was constant fighting back and forth. Lucky for me, I was the youngest of 3 kids. So it kind of shaped how I thought or how I kind of learned. I watched what people did. I picked up on the things I liked. I saw the things I didn't and said I'd never repeat that. So as the youngest, I happened to be the only person in my family to go to college. One of my older brother never graduated high school. My sister ultimately, who's 7 years older, raised us, and she left the day she turned 18. So I've essentially been on my own since I was 11. My mom, smartest street smart person I've ever met in her life, but also an alcoholic and a drug addict. So it's something you deal with. With that, I said, and the thing she taught was the only way that you get out, the only way you escape this is you get an education. And back then, what I thought was the only way you ever made any money was you were a lawyer, a doctor, a pro athlete, or an entertainer. I was clearly not going to be 3 or 4. So I said, all right, I'm going to be a doctor. So from that, I made my choice for college. I chose my place for college. I went down there. My first quarter, I worked my way through school, paid my own way, and I got my first job at Sony as a marketing associate. And I was like, wow, I had no idea this world even existed. And from that, I said, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be a doctor. This is what I want to do. You can go in, you can do different things every day. You're never bored. And so I decided that's what I was going to go into. Unfortunately, if anybody's attended UC, the systems, business is not an option for undergrad. I think except for Berkeley. I think they've changed that. But at the time, it wasn't. So now I'm like, what do I do? So of course, what I did, I changed my major. I majored in political science with a minor in theater, and I eloped at 19. Because that's what I was going to do. So I met a guy, first lesson to my daughter is never meet your future husband at a bar in Tijuana. Met him at a bar in Tijuana, got married at 19 years old. But lucky for me, I didn't have to focus on dating and all the college stuff. I got married and focused on my career. So for the next several years, I graduated, finished in 3 years, moved to Silicon Valley and started working at some of the big tech startups. Probably most are too young to remember. Sun Microsystems, we used to be the .com before the .com came. Sun Microsystems, got a job there, worked my way up. And at 25, I found myself married for 6 and some odd years. I found myself living in a home that I never dreamed I'd even walk into, much less own, with 2 luxury cars. I had a husband, a brand new baby daughter. I had a boat. I had every material possession you could ever imagine. As somebody growing up with nothing, that's what you always strive to be. If I just get there, if I just make more money. And I remember sitting there going, oh my God, I am miserable. And that was the point, lucky for me at 25, to learn the lesson that it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you don't love what you do, and you don't have somebody you love to spend it with, it actually doesn't matter. So at that point in time, I faced my divorce, but I also said, my ex-husband and I said we would never put our daughter through what we had went through. So did the divorce myself. As I say, I make a fantastic ex-wife. Did the divorce myself, cost us $350. We went out, had a drink to celebrate our divorce. Things were great. Gave him a house, a boat, and a car to walk away. Things were awesome, but also at the same time, I was continuing to work on my career. I became the youngest vice president at Symantec. Anybody know Norton Antivirus? Became the youngest vice president at Symantec, and at that point in time, I was traveling the globe. I was doing about 200,000 miles a year. I was gone all the time, and again, a single mom, and I faced a problem that I thought that no one out there had faced, and that I didn't know existed. And what that was it said, you sometimes, as this quote says, sometimes you have to get knocked down lower than you have ever been to stand up taller than you were ever before, right? So I faced this, I'm now on my own trying to manage all this stuff, and what I quickly realized was child support was the one thing in life you don't get a bill for. So nobody ever tells the other person, hey, by the way, you owe me some money. And on top of that, what people don't realize is when it comes to raising kids together while you're no longer together, is you not only pay child support, but you share all this other stuff. Childcare, education, medical, all these other things. And so on top of being a single mom and an executive traveling the globe, I kind of felt like a bill collector. And let's face it, the last person my ex-husband wanted to hear that he owed money to was me. So now all of a sudden, all these conversations that we were going back and forth from were arguments. And now it kind of put me back into where I was as a kid, where the whole reason why we wanted to separate was we thought our daughter would be better off with us apart than together, and now we're arguing over the things that never happened. That's when I actually thought about it, and I said, what the heck am I doing with my life? And I realized life is about making an impact. It's not about making an income. So at this same time, I'm the youngest VP at Symantec, and as I said, I swore, I looked and I saw all these VPs, and they're making all this money, and they weren't doing shit. Excuse my French. They weren't doing anything, and I was like, I'm never going to be that VP. So my first performance review after making VP, I was told that I was too effective. How am I too? You are paying me $325,000 a year plus bonus, and I'm too effective? And in my head, I'm like, are you kidding me? This is more money I could ever dreamed of. And I'm too effective. Because for me, I was working for what they were paying me. What I didn't realize was my peers were like, wait a second, you got stuff done in 6 months with your team that we couldn't do in 5 years. So I said, all right, I'm not happy here. But it must be because I'm working at this 17,000 person company, $6 billion, they're making $6 billion. Let me go to a smaller company. So I went to a smaller company. And it wasn't better, it was actually worse. And then at the same time is when I found out my daughter had to have emergency brain surgery. So I get the news, I'm miserable at work, I'm a self-proclaimed workaholic, I couldn't get out of bed, she had to have emergency brain surgery. She goes through that, and that was the point where I was like, what am I doing with my life? But then I thought about it, and I was like, wait a second, you're a single mom, you don't have a spouse, you don't have any parents, you have no backup plan. So you don't have experience, you've never done this, you ain't a coder, so what are you going to do, right? And I could have sat there and made up every single excuse in the book for why I didn't want to do this, but I said, well, maybe this is like God telling me, okay, we've kind of given you enough warning messages, actually take the time. Maybe this is your time to actually take it, look at it, and then at least know that, hey, you pursued it, you looked at it, and you moved on. I also fell into the thing that many people fall into, which is this false sense of security in corporate America. Everybody said, but I have a corporate job, I have a paycheck. But I have a job, I have a paycheck. But what I also realized was, yeah, but at any time, at any point tomorrow, they can say, sorry, you're fired. We're having a layoff. At least if I ran my own company, I know how much money's in the bank. I know whether I'm going to run out of the money. So I looked at all of that stuff and I said, you know what? Everything I've ever wanted is on that other side of fear. So I can sit there and make up every excuse of why I shouldn't do this, or I'll actually try and do it. So my thing was, I had saved up all this money from this money that they were giving me, because I didn't even know what to do with it. And I said, let me try it for a year. I'm going to go out there. So the first thing I did was I talked to a ton of people and I did a ton of research. Right? Because I kept looking for a solution, but I couldn't find one. But I said maybe I wasn't looking hard enough. Talked to a ton of people. The second thing was I looked for competitors. Was there somebody already doing this now? Right? So making sure that there wasn't somebody that was doing the exact same thing. And even if they are, which there wasn't, was there a way to actually go in and do it better? That's how Apple iPods, right? They were not the first iPod inventor, right, to people. You can make it better. No one was doing this. It was a problem that wasn't being solved. There was no, and the other thing I found was there was no big company targeting this market, divorced parents. So I didn't have to worry about, Intuit coming after me, or Google coming after me, or Facebook. Nobody was targeting the market, and it was a problem that people had. And then the biggest thing through this first year was I kept hearing, God, I wish I had this. I wish my parents had this. I wish I had this when my kids were that age. Random people sending me notes on LinkedIn and leaving voicemails on my voice message. So I was like, wow, this is actually something that people actually need. So I decided to do it. I took up the thing and I taught myself how to code. I had no idea how to code. I built the first product myself. My theory in life is never delegate unless you either, one, know exactly what you want, or two, you know how to do it. So if somebody's giving me code, how am I going to know what they gave me is good or not if I don't know how to do it myself? I am still to this day, hopefully soon ending, coding, right? We were there till midnight last night coding. We're getting close. Do it, but I taught myself how to code, so at least I can say, yep, I knew it. Because if I was going to run a product in a technology company, I had to know the technology. Because then I'm not dependent on anybody else. But also through this, I quickly realized that discipline is just choosing between what you want now and what you want the most. Because at every point in time, I'm getting calls from recruiters, come back, 200,000, 300,000, 350. Right? Do I want that now, or do I want what I think this could potentially be in the future? So the first year I self-funded, I built the product myself, I came up with the name and the logo. If you guys ever, let's see where, here's the logo. Can you guys see what the logo represents? Yeah, so it's two parents raising a kid, but they're not actually having to hold hands, but they need to work together to grow the tree, right? Crazy branding stuff. So I did that, and I tried to find every reason not to do it. And then things started getting really tough. So as in my favorite one, today's one of those days where even my coffee needs a coffee, endless sleep. I would manage, I'd work till 7. My daughter would come home from school. We'd spend 7 to 9:30. She'd go to bed. I would then work till 2, 3 in the morning and repeat and work 7 days a week. I have not had a vacation in 4 years. I have not taken, even with death of family members, my mother, everybody in between, I've never taken, the most I've taken off was 3 days, and that was when my dog died. I know, it was sad, but that's what it was. So having taken it, it's not easy. I'm not gonna say it is easy. It is, and it's a grind, but I also realized that I didn't want to base my decisions on the advice of people who didn't have to deal with the results. So a year later, after I started this, I started fundraising. And this is the time where everybody was getting, there was like 27 food delivery companies that were getting like $30 million. Like, how many more food delivery companies do you need in San Francisco? Right? And I kept saying, wait a second, we need food delivery in Santa Clara. As a single mom, I'm the one that needs food delivery, but nobody was delivering there. Or how many more dog walking companies do you need that are going to get $50 million? So money was everywhere. And in the news, everybody talks about how much all this money was. So I started fundraising, and I started talking to people. And people start giving me and telling me what they need. Well, yeah, we'll invest in you if you take your business model and put it this way, and maybe you should charge monthly instead of by the transaction, or maybe the transaction fee should be 2% instead of 1%, and why don't you go do the model this way, and why don't you do the demo this way, and give me your mobile app, and and I found that I was spinning, constantly taking all this advice, and quickly what I realized was all the people giving me this advice, none of them actually invested in the company. So I'm spending all this time and wasting, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm running out of money. So I get to the point, this is February 20th of 2014. At this point in time, I have liquidated everything. I've sold my house, I've sold all of my stock, I have been without health insurance for 3 years, pre-Obamacare. I couldn't qualify for health insurance as a very healthy 32-year-old. And I'm sitting there, I'm at the brink, and it was literally on February 20th where I said, if I don't get funding by tomorrow, I'm going to apply for food stamps. Because at least that will give me $425 a month to at least pay for food. And if I don't get an investor by February 28th, I'm shutting down. Because the best thing I ever heard was, it's really easy to start a company, it's really hard to shut one down. Right? So what point is that point where you're like, all right, I'm in, I believe, but now there's no more I can do. The other thing is I quickly realized at this point in time is everybody talks about all these companies that are getting all this money, but nobody talks about the thousands of companies that don't ever get any money, right? So you're chasing a dream that doesn't actually exist. So I said February 20th, I'm applying for food stamps. On that day, on February 20th, I get an email from Tim Draper. I had pitched him that Tuesday, and he said, all right, I'm in. I'm in for your seed round. I was like, oh my God. He said, but I'm only in for $250. And I was trying to get $1 million, right? Because $250 wasn't gonna get me very far. So I said, all right. So February 20th, somebody else emailed Mark Benioff. You guys know who Mark Benioff is? He's the CEO of Salesforce.com. Somebody emailed Mark Benioff. If you don't know Mark, Mark is probably the leader in Silicon Valley focused on hiring for diversity and equality, making sure that his entire organization is diverse. He's the only CEO who has pledged equal pay for women at the same level as men. So somebody emailed him and said what I was doing. He's not divorced. He hasn't gone through this problem. But he said, yeah, this sounds interesting. I'd like to hear more. At that point in time, I replied back to his email. I said, oh, Mark, what that person forgot to tell you was I'm actually built on the Force.com platform. Because when I decided to build this, I thought that would be the best thing out there. So I built it on He said, really? Wow, you need to come in. You need to talk to my investment team. So I said, okay. So he said, how about Monday at 4 o'clock? Perfect. Going on Monday at 4 o'clock, and I'm sitting there with the guy who introduced me to him, and his entire investment team, and I had my laptop up with my pitch deck, and I'm ready to go. And he said, oh, well, before you get started, let me tell you this first. We don't invest in consumer companies, and we don't do seed investments. And as a consumer company looking for a seed investment, I was like, oh, shit. And this guy sitting next to me, literally, white dude, if you could turn whiter, he would have. Or if he could have fainted, he would have. He literally stopped breathing. And so I closed my laptop. And I said, wow, really, you don't? Okay, do you know, in fact, Salesforce has been around for, what, 12 years? 12 plus years, yep. And of what, less than 1% of your revenue comes from government right now? Yep. Almost every other successful enterprise company has at least 10% of their revenue coming from government. And you only have less than 1%. Why? Government doesn't buy CRM. Government buys apps, right? They need apps, they need solutions. And you know, I'm built on your platform. And in fact, in the US alone, we spend $6 billion every year to build and maintain child support systems. Every state has their own system. They're 12 to 15 years or older. They're all built on mainframe. So shouldn't you guys be, as the cloud software leader, the person out there offering cloud apps to your customers and being able to offer it? And my solution built in your platform can do that. And the only reason I'm in consumer right now is to prove it, because I know government is going to take a long time to get into. So I just want to prove it that it's out there. And they said, wow, okay, yep, we're in. How much do you need? And I was like, shut up, really? And they were like, yeah, how much? Tell us what we need.
That was your pitch.
That was my pitch.
Your pitch was just explaining why they were wrong.
Explaining why they should invest in a consumer company and do a seed deal. That was my pitch. I'd never done it before. We were the only company they'd ever invest, only consumer company, only seed investment. They did it, but why? Because I was able to relate it to their business. At that point in time, it's like ostriches. Now all of a sudden, everybody wants in. Everybody's calling, oh, what? Tim Draper and Mark Benioff, oh, we're in. And it was the best feeling in the world because you could basically say, sorry, I don't need your money, in a very nice and polite way. It was the best feeling in the world. As I always say, dear haters, I have so much more for you to be mad at. Just be patient. So I get the money, and I think everything is great and wonderful, but actually that was the point where work started happening, right? So then it's the hard work. You get $1 million and you think, wow, I got $1 million. That's awesome. $1 million doesn't take you very far at all, right? And you start dividing that by 12, and then a salary, and then I'm living in Silicon Valley, and I get these 22-year-olds, no offense if anybody's 22, just graduating college, and they walk in, and they had 0 work experience, and I say, well, what's your salary expectation? You know, my going rate right now, 180. 180? Going rate is 180? Really? Yeah, that's what I'm worth. Hey, if that's what you're worth, you should go get it. And guess what they do? And they walk down the street and they get it. 180. 180 for a kid that doesn't even have any experience. And how does a company with one person with $1 million and one person wants $180,000, how do you do that? Right? Or you get the person that comes in and says, yeah, I'm willing to do it for 120. Here's my developer and coder, and you get them and you train them, and all of a sudden Google comes knocking 6 months later and says, here, I'll give you 180. And they're gone. Right? So I kept going back to me coding. And my kid's like, really, Mom? Really? And I try to get her to code, and she's like, no, not doing it. I dance and I sing. That's what he said. So then I really realized here that the only thing was standing between me and my goal was the bullshit story I keep telling myself about why you can't achieve it. Right? So we went there and we grinded, but at that point in time, 3 years later, I said, this cannot be my future home. I can't build and sustain a company here for many reasons. One, it doesn't match the culture that I'm building. So at my company, family and families first. I'm flexible. I'm not a babysitter. I have 1 kid. That's the only person I'm going to babysit. I don't care when your butt is in your seat, get your job done. We pay for performance. What that means is we have low base salaries, but everybody's salary is based on our revenue. So every company, every employee gets benefited on the performance of the company. The motto of our company that you'll see on our culture deck and everything is don't talk about it, be about it. Because that was the thing, and through my whole life, that's what I constantly hear is about why somebody can't do this, or they're gonna do that, or they're gonna do this, or they're gonna do that. There's also is, I will never ask somebody to do something I'm not willing to do myself. And I'm cheap. I am cheap. So people are coming like, oh, we need to get, I need to fly across the country, but I need to, stay at what is it? All the international continental, all the things I used to be able to stay at back when I had a corporate card, right? And it was like, no, we're spending our own money here. So building a company, but doing it in a way that I feel like I can define it. I learned all these things over corporate America. I would never trade that in. But being able to say, the other part is it's not easy. It takes a lot of work, and it's not for the faint of heart, right? And it's a point where you also have to ask yourself, hey, I believe, and I believe when nobody else does. So we're searching for a place. Here's the final story of what brought me to Sacramento. So I'm searching for a place to go. As part of my investors out here, there's a gentleman by the name of Bob Bozeman. Anybody know Bob Bozeman? Okay, so Bob Bozeman has a story. Anybody know Ron Conway? Ron Conway is like the first angel, supposedly, in Silicon Valley. It was actually Bob Bozeman and Ron Conway, and they invested in Facebook and LinkedIn and every Google and every big tech startup. They were the first angels out there. Bob Bozeman, Ron Conway. Ron Conway stayed. Bob Bozeman said, no, forget this, I'm out. And he moved to like Reading or something, Chico, or I think he was behind the legalization of marijuana, actually. So he moves up there. They happen to be investors, so a few guys here in Sacramento. And so I said, hey, I'm looking for another place to live. And I was looking at North Carolina, Colorado, Austin, Texas, Seattle, and New York. And they said, well, what about Sacramento? I was like, are you kidding me right now? Sacramento? No. I went to 23 schools by the time I graduated high school. From the Bay Area to San Diego and back on down, all over LA. Sacramento, no. Because what I thought of Sacramento was what you see between Davis and Sacramento. And I am not a country person at all. So I was like, no, I'm good. And so Barry Broom, does anybody know Barry? He runs the Economic Development Council. So he comes down to Santa Clara and says, come on, you got to think about Sacramento. And I was like, all right, I'll think about it. And he said, where are you looking at? And I tell him, he says, okay, hold on. Yeah, I need a side-by-side comparison. Raleigh, Austin, Seattle. Yep, got it. Yep, 45 minutes. All right, we'll get you that comparison in 45 minutes. And this is why you should choose SAC. And he's rallying on. I was like, dude, this guy's badass, right? He had just moved here from Phoenix. So I was like, yeah, think about it. So they kept saying, come up to SAC, come up, see all this stuff that's going on. It's not what you think. And I was like, no. So finally they got me. Because they called me and said, hey, we got some Kings tickets. You want to go to Kings? And I was like, hell yeah. Like, I'm a huge I'm Warriors, but I'm a huge basketball fan. I'm a huge football fan. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. So they go, I tour all these places, whatever. And then they take me to the game that night. And they hand me my tickets. And I go and I walk. And all of a sudden I'm walking and they're like, yeah, go this way. And I walk and I look and I'm like on the floor. And I was like, oh, I'm in the wrong place here. I think I'm supposed to be like up there in the suites. And they're like, no, you're in the right place over here. And they come, and they shuffle me, and they sit me down. They sit me down between Mayor Kevin Johnson and Kevin Nagel, who's a co-owner of things. And I'm like, they're starting to talk, and I was like, I'm literally like, could touch LeBron's butt, like, drooling. And I was like, oh my God, like, are you kidding me right now? And they keep talking, and I'm like, And so it was Kings versus Cavs. The last time LeBron plays in the old stadium, he played his first game in this stadium, like amazing, like something I never thought I would experience. And of course, me being me, I started talking shit. And if you guys don't know, the mayor was recruited by the Cavs before he went to the Phoenix Suns. And he was talking about the Cavs and how great they were. And I was like, yeah, they're all right, but they're not as good as the Warriors. And he's like, oh, you're willing to put your money where your mouth is? I said, absolutely. He said, okay, this is in March, by the way, March 16th, 20th, something. He said, okay, if the Cavs beat the Warriors in the finals, this is a true story. If the Cavs beat the Warriors in the finals, you choose SAC over all these other cities. He said, absolutely, it's the easiest bet I'll ever make in my life. Got it. So, Jamie, I don't know if you guys, anybody follow basketball? Right? Game 3, we're good. We're good. We went to it. We went to the semi, not the finals, but we went to the previous game. We're good. Game 3 is good. Game 4, not so good. They just have some problems. Draymond, okay, game 5. All right, we're good. Game 6. Game 7, and all of a sudden my daughter, like literally a minute left, she's like, we're moving to SAC, aren't we? And I said, yeah, looks that way. But more importantly, I was so impressed with just what's going on here and just the feeling and the excitement. And for us, it was like, I feel like we're in this like big, metro area, but also like with a small town feel of people just trying to, and you don't get this in the Valley. And as much as they make the Valley seem like this, like, I don't know, Wizard of Oz type of land, it's not as great and wonderful as everybody says, and it's expensive, and people are not dedicated. So I've been here, like I said, 6 weeks. We've had an amazing experience so far. We hope to have a much more amazing experience. But part of that was making choices along the way, learning a lot of stuff. If I can't leave you with anything, because you guys are trying to come up with your business plans, I would say by Sunday, think about this. The entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life, like 4 years without a vacation or 5 years, like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. That's what it is to be an entrepreneur. When you look at your ideas and the things you're coming up with, if I can say nothing else, find something that's a big problem that a lot of people have, that nobody's thought about. The biggest thing I get wherever I go when I pitch is they're like, what do you do? And I say, oh, I have my company SupportPay. We help parents manage child support and share expenses. Huh? Wait. First thing, wait, there's nothing out there already? No? That's almost so logical and stupid, right? So obvious. Because I had a problem that most people funding startups today don't have. So focus on a problem that meets a big need, that you don't have any major competitors, or if you do have a major competitor, you're going to make it that much better, and you know how you're going to make it better. And finally, the final thing I'll say is focus on revenue. If I made any mistake along the way, is that I focused on what they said I should, which was users and user growth, and we have over 40,000 parents on our platform, right? They're exchanging almost $30 million every month in child support, but we didn't turn on revenue until June of this year, because everybody talked about customer growth, right? But the problem is because we didn't turn on revenue for so long, I was basically handcuffed by investors. I couldn't control my own destiny. right? So if that was the thing, I would say, and curiously, the moment we turned on revenue, we started getting revenue is the point where people said, all right, we're ready to invest, which is essentially why we're about to close our $5 million round. So focus on revenue and do something that you can actually make money from. Other than that, keep thinking about it, dive in, or if you can't, be willing to say, you know what, it's not a right time, I'm gonna step away. There's nothing wrong with stepping back. So, that's kind of my story. Yes?
How'd you get your first 100 users?
How to get my first 100 users? It was people I knew, right? So, hey, do you have this problem? Or the biggest thing I get for child support, if you don't know, the feedback is the person paying is always saying, I have no problem paying. I just want to know the money's going to my kid. But they're not the ones who actually do the shopping. So when you say the tennis shoes are $100, they really are $100. But they think it's the ex trying to get a new purse or a new watch or whatever, get her hair done or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden they see it and they're like, oh, okay. The second way I did it was I found out that when you do child support as a search term, most people in the Valley or with any tech startup are paying between $3 and $5 cost per click. Child support as a term, it was 13 cents. It's now 18 cents because I keep bidding against myself, right? And it's searched 3.2 million times a month. So incredibly cheap, but it was word of mouth and then keep iterating on the product. Any other questions? So we'll be here for a little bit. I will say this is my daughter, Janicia. It's Janice and Alicia to make Janicia, branding. This is John Tay. I like Jay's. John Tay is my chief of staff. So if you guys are interested in joining, coming over, seeing, spending a day with us, what we're doing, John Tay James is who you want to reach out to because I don't really look at my emails anymore. And then Joe T, so we got Janicia, John Tay, and Joe T Das is our new CTO. And so he's building out our development team, and he joined from a seasoned executive at Intel who happened to build child support systems several years ago. Sacramento hired him right before we moved here. And so he's building out our local development team. So that's who's here, and happy to answer any questions afterwards as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.